Hello, I'm Frank Lee. Welcome to Talking Gearheads podcast. Today I'm with my good friend and guest, Eric Worrell, who has served many years under the Lamborghini brand, both in Houston and abroad. And today he's going to share with us, some of his experience in that industry and that brand. And Eric, thank you for coming on today.
No, thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
So let's, the first part of the podcast, we're about an hour, plus or minus a little bit. The first part, I want to really talk about your history, because everyone I know who I find so interesting, especially interesting enough to bring onto a podcast, has a great story on their own outside of being in the industry.
Okay.
So, let me guess, you don't think your story is so interesting?
Not at all. But I'll give you a little background. So
first of all, where are you from?
Born and raised right here in Houston, Texas. Yeah, that's it. I spent 6 years in Philadelphia, South Jersey area as I was perfecting my craft and learning. But Snow and I don't get along, so I quickly came back to Houston.
Well, and I understand, like, for example, let's talk about your background in cars. Like when you were growing up here in Houston,
mm-hmm.
When did you first find you had an affinity for the automobile?
Immediately, the second I got my hardship license and could drive, that was it for me. Immediately it probably rolled into some street racing as well. So, all of those things. Yes.
So what was your first car?
The first car that I owned was a 92 Mitsubishi Eclipse 1.8 liter manual. First car that I street raced in might have been a 2000 Toyota Sienna, which is a minivan. Yes, indeed. First car that I may or may not have blown up was a Toyota Sienna.
Let me just take a moment to let you know I do not condone street racing.
But that's kind of where the passion started from there. And then, of course, you realize as a teenager you don't have the money to buy a car or have someone fix a car and upgrades and all that stuff. So I figured it was better for me to learn on my own. And then after my passion for being a computer programmer was kind of fizzled at high school, that's where I just immediately dumped all my energy and focus in. Went to school and just kind of started from there.
Now, after high school, I presume, is when you went for formal training in the automotive industry?
Yes. So after high school, I went to UTI here in Houston, Texas, graduated from there, and then went into the Audi Academy. So that was another 6 months in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
That's funny you say Allentown because my family is from Reading.
Oh, yeah, right around the corner. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm the first generation of my family born south of the Mason-Dixon line.
Okay.
And then I never went back north again.
Yeah. Is it the snow? It's the snow, isn't it? You can say it's the snow. There's a better way.
I don't understand why people want to live in such a cold, harsh environment.
Correct.
I know how they like to brag about their very distinct seasons between winter, summer, fall, and summer, but it's cold in the springtime up there, and it gets cold in the fall up there.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems like winter goes on for 8 months a year.
Correct.
Whereas down south, it's warm 9 months a year.
Yeah. And you don't pick up a part-time job of shoveling snow every winter to not get paid for. Yeah, there's none of that down here.
Yeah. Definitely. So Audi school was 6 months?
Yeah, so Audi school was 6 months, 6 months of training, and then you're just a few classes short of being an Audi master technician at that point.
You're an Audi master tech after 6 months of training?
Just short of. There was a couple of classes that I had to take once I got to the dealership level, and then I was Audi certified master technician, yes.
My son has an A5 that I hate dearly.
Why?
We had to replace 6 bolts in the front subframe to adjust the camber.
Yeah.
He finds this acceptable.
It's what I know. Lamborghinis
do not require this.
This is true. Sometimes you may have to do a little subframe adjustment with an Audi. A little bit.
But they're single-use bolts. You have to replace the bolts to make the adjustment.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
For camber.
Correct.
He just finds this acceptable.
It's what I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after 6 months at Audi school.
6 months of Audi school, I started a career with Audi. And I was actually, as soon as I started at the Audi dealership, they cross-trained me to work for Porsche as well.
Oh.
I spent 2 years.
After the school, where was your first employment? After
South Jersey, Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Yes. Yeah, so I could not, because I was right around 08, so it was kind of hard for me to get a job back down here. So I just took the closest job I could get, which was Cherry Hill, New Jersey. So I believe that was a 75-mile commute to and from work every day or something like that, something close to that. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was fun.
Well, and what vehicle did you commute that kind of distance in?
That was in a 2000 Isuzu Rodeo.
I had an Isuzu Rodeo.
Yeah.
I had a 97 Isuzu Rodeo.
Okay.
I put 190,000 miles for a long time on that vehicle.
Yeah.
Manual transmission.
Okay, even better.
It was a good one.
Even better.
Yeah, it did really
I
well.
wish I had one of those because I had to rebuild my transmission. So yeah, you did good.
In fact, I still had that Isuzu Rodeo when No, I did not. I had transitioned into a Ford pickup truck by then.
Okay.
Yeah. Long story. But so Allentown, Pennsylvania, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Were you commuting from Allentown to Cherry Hill?
Yeah. So my morning or my daily routine was wake up uber early in the morning, drive to Cherry Hill, New Jersey, work on cars all day, drive back to Allentown, Pennsylvania, deliver pizzas till close, whatever that was, 11 or 12, and then go home, sleep, rinse, repeat. Yeah.
Delivering pizzas after a full day of wrenching on cars. Now, why would you have to do that?
Because that's how you afford the gas to get to work. That's how that works.
Wow.
Yeah.
So working on Porsches and Audis did not pay well enough to cover your gas bill to do the job.
To get to it, yeah. To get to the job, yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, fresh out of UTI, there's all the guarantees. I think at that time, I don't remember if it was $12 an hour or $15 an hour or whatnot, but that's all you are for a while. And it took me a little bit before I became a flat rate employee, so I was still hourly for a little bit. So yeah.
So I mean, when it comes to UTI, I could spend all day covering my issues with that, and I know what the situation is today. But back then, the situation, did you have a student loan to pay for it?
Yes.
And how much of a loan covered the first batch of tools you had to buy to be a technician?
Oh, that student loan is separate from the tool loan. Yeah.
And how much was at graduation? How much was your student loan and your tool loan?
I want to say at that time it was like 18 grand or something for the classes. Which included what I thought was a toolbox with tools that I was going to get. It was not. It was a box.
And that's it.
With tools that I was going to get. So cardboard box, not an actual toolbox. So I had to go out and buy a toolbox. Yeah, there was probably something I should have read a little bit more closely in the fine print.
You received a box that had tools.
Yes, I received a box that had tools with it right at the dealership. So that was nice, but it wasn't an actual toolbox. And that kind of got me going probably for the first, I don't know, I'll say month and a half. And then you immediately start having to buy tools that are going to make the job quicker and easier for you. Yeah, you accumulate debt real quick.
The young fellow who works for me, 19 years old, just started working for me last summer, fresh out of high school. He was telling me he was looking at a UTI and his dad was going to foot the bill. For 2 years of UTI, it is now $48,000.
Wow.
Before you buy tools.
Wow. That's a nice car.
It's a real nice car. Anyway, I tell you what, why don't you tell your grandfather to put that 50 grand. He can get 4% on a tax-free muni. And I'll pay $10 an hour to learn from me until I'm ready to turn you loose on a car by yourself. and then I'll pay you 15 plus labor. To which he said yes immediately. And he's almost there. I mean, he's almost 9 months working for me, and he has proven to be very, very talented, a very quick study, naturally careful and process oriented. But he needs to start buying tools.
Yep.
But in that, I'm just curious what it was then versus now, because I'm telling, one thing I explained to him is today, okay, $48,000, boom, that's your student loan. You know, the minimum you're going to spend is $10,000 to $20,000 on tools. So you're graduating with $70,000 in debt, $70,000 in debt, so that you can start your $15 an hour entry level tech position. And you and I both know how that job board goes in a dealership.
I agree with everything that you're saying, but I truly and strongly believe that we need, maybe not UTI is the best examples, but I love trade schools, because not everyone...
Oh, I'm preaching trade schools every day.
Yeah, needs to go to college, and everyone wants to go to college, and we all know the massive amount of debt you can get into from going to college and come out without a job. Yeah,
well, what's so mind-blowing to me is that $48,000, when I was graduating from high school in 87, $48,000 would almost cover 4 years of Harvard.
Wow.
Now it covers only 2 years of trade school. Because I promise you, Harvard's $250,000, and even regular college is $120,000.
Yep.
And that's just tuition and some books.
Correct.
That's not board. That's not extra books and labs and...
Correct.
You know.
Yep. Yep. So while it is expensive, I mean, like I said, I'm a trade school, maybe not fanatic, but fan.
Well, I'm a fan too, because, well, first of all, Houston as a city is very much a trade town.
Correct.
We're known for our oil refineries, our welding, our pipes, and every trade that goes with that. Machinists, fabricators, welders, lots of welders. You can make six figures as a welder in this town.
Yes, you can.
Fresh out of school.
Yep.
Without $50,000 in debt to start.
Correct.
And if you did, you'd probably pay it back pretty quick too.
Yep.
But in that, as those of us who chose the craft, so to speak, of being able to repair these cars and upgrade them and tune them, what have you. So how long were you making that commute from Allentown to Cherry Hill, New Jersey?
It was 2 months. It was 2 months. Oh, maybe 3 months. Because I think after the 6 months that's what it was, 3 months. So after the 6 months of school, couldn't find a job. So I signed a 3-month extension on the lease. So yeah, I had to do that for 3 months before I could move down to Cherry Hill. Yeah.
And what happened after Cherry Hill? How long were you there?
I was at Cherry Hill for 2 years, and then a coworker and I figured out that Lamborghini and Bentley use the same scan tool as Audi, so we said, let's go apply for a position over there. Had no idea if they were even hiring or anything. So we both went in there, applied for a position. They gave us both the job, which I thought was kind of weird. I managed to stay there. He did not. We'll say that. We'll say the least. And yeah, so I spent the next 4 years working for Lamborghini, Bentley, and Maserati at the time. Yeah. And
those were very different animals.
Very different animals, and a very different place than here in Houston. So yeah, we saw a lot of different things than we see down here for sure.
Wow.
Sure. Yes.
And how long were you there?
So I did that for 4 years before I made the move back down here. Working up there for the majority of the time, there were pretty much only 3 technicians in our shop that we did those brands. During the summer, we were busy. During the winter, we were maybe lucky if we got to work on a car. Yeah, that's
for an entire 3 months of the year or longer.
Yeah, if not longer. Yeah.
So say 4 or 5 months a year, you barely saw a car.
Sometimes, yes.
And what did you do with your time?
So at the dealership that I worked at, the rules were you had to show up and be there before 8 a.m. and you had to work until 5 p.m. In order for them to give you your guarantee. And your guarantee was half the amount of hours that you were there. So you had to show up for 40 hours to get paid 20. basically.
And do nothing.
But that was the only way you were going to get paid your 20, right? Unless there was just enough cars for you to work on to obviously flat rate more than that 20 hours.
Right.
Sometimes you could, sometimes you couldn't.
Holy cow.
So I fell back on what I knew. I delivered pizzas. What I know. Yeah. So I would change uniforms and go and deliver pizzas till close, 11, 12 at night or whatnot. Yeah.
And be back at the dealership before 8 o'clock in the morning.
Be back, yeah, to serve my sentence. Yes.
His sentence.
Yes. It's not that bad. It's part of the world. It is what it is. It's not that bad. I shouldn't say sentence.
How long were you doing that?
For 4 years. Yeah.
What happened after 4 years?
I finally got a job back here in Houston for Lamborghini as a technician. Yeah. So I took that immediately. Immediately. Yes. Yes, because every year I would come home for Christmas for a week, and during that week I would just be handing out resumes everywhere I could.
Get me out of Jersey.
Get me out of Jersey. But it was during that time period to where, number one, thanks to UTI, they pump out a graduating class every 3 weeks. So there's plenty of technicians down here saturating the market. So I learned real quick that getting into an Audi dealership or maybe even Porsche or any of those smaller brands was probably not going to be an option, because they're not going to pay to relocate. They're not really interested when they can grab somebody fresh from UTI that was $15 an hour. And now I was already asking for, I don't remember, but something obviously higher because I had the skill set and the experience now. Right.
Right.
So yeah, once I had the opportunity to start at Lamborghini, I jumped on it. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you've been there ever since.
Been there ever since. Yep. Started there October 2010. Seen lots of changes, but yes, still in the game.
Oh, I'm here to tell you, in my short time, I've seen a lot of changes there. And you were there before me.
Yes.
And yet through all those changes, and we're not talking small changes either.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about some of the changes you've been through at Lamborghini Houston.
Okay. So originally when I started working there, it was privately owned. And then literally a year later, we were bought out by the Indigo Auto Group.
So it's independently owned away from the Indigo Group before that. Mm-hmm. And who was that owner? Did you know him or?
I did, because he gave me the quote unquote contract, our pay agreement. I'm gonna leave names out of this one because that was not a very good deal.
You were just happy to be in the South.
I was just happy to be in the South. Yes. I was promised one thing, but may have gotten another, but happy to be home.
Imagine that.
Yes.
An employer actually promising something different than what they delivered.
So once Indigo Auto Group took over, they came in, they made a lot of changes. The shop got air conditioning, which was awesome. We got an alignment rack. We got a tire machine, so we could start doing our own tires again.
What were you doing before that?
Oh, we would sublet out tires like crazy people. Yes, that's what we did. We sublet out tires, balancing, alignments, all that.
Oh my God. When you sublet out something like that, I have a feeling there may have been some issues.
There might have been. But at that time, I was a technician, so those weren't my issues.
Right. What do you do when you sublet out and the wheel comes back dented, scratched?
You take care of it. That's what they had to do. Sometimes the wheels would come back scratched, and then they'd have to get them repaired and before they could put them back on the car. Yeah.
Why is it taking 5 days to put a tire on my car?
Yeah. Well, because unfortunately it was damaged, and we had to take care of it.
Ouch.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Most of the times, when cars came in, if they needed tires, most of the times those rims were already damaged. So it was kind of on par with the course there. Hey, we can repair your tire, or we can repair your rim while we replace your tire. Is that what you want to do? Yeah, absolutely. So it works.
I now have something new in my arsenal. Oh, right. Would you let me repair your rim while I'm doing your tire?
Correct.
I just need a couple days.
Yeah, that's it.
And $200 should be good.
Always selling. Always be selling.
ABC.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, so this is the kind of thing that. So when they came in and a tire machine, mm-hmm. You guys have to learn how to use a tire machine, or were you
No,
still doing that?
I knew how to use a tire machine. So when I first started working there, it was completely foreign that we did not have a tire machine and did not have an alignment rack and did not have, essential tools to work on high-end exotic vehicles. So,
And having a couple Lamborghinis myself, I can tell you that they're highly responsive to alignments.
correct.
And how do you not do an alignment on these cars? I mean,
We've subletted those out
let's talk about how many ways that can go wrong.
a lot. Sometimes it did.
What was the worst you saw?
It wasn't necessarily so bad. Just sometimes you had to have them redo the alignment. Go figure if you sublet out something to someone who probably is used to tow and go alignments, and now they have to do all of it, a real alignment. You may get something that's slightly out. And as you know, they use shims. So we had to supply shims. If they didn't have the right shim, you may see some weird washer or spacer or something that you've got to be like, hey guys, we can't do this. Like, we have to do better than this. Like, so, but that only lasted for a year. Once Indigo Auto Group came in, yeah, we got real tools.
On the Diablo, on mine at least, there are no fewer than 8 separate adjustments on the back of that car.
Correct.
Upper and lower control arms, an eccentric on each corner. That's 4 on each side, 8 adjustment points, and they all interact.
Yep.
The first time I did it, I spent an entire day just getting the rear end of the car straight with an acceptable camber. I'm a lot better at it now.
So, funny story about alignments. One of the very first alignments that I had to do when I worked for Lamborghini was in South Jersey. Their alignment rack was not in the same shop as all the exotic vehicles. It was in like their GM shop actually, and it was on a steep incline. Go figure, right? Perfect for a Murcielago, right? There's a steep incline to the alignment rack.
And Diablos have no nose lift. And few Murcielagos do.
Correct. This Murcielago did not have a nose lift as well. And ordinarily, they would have probably subletted that out, but it belonged to an Andretti. We'll say that. So there was no way that they were going to sublet that out. And it became my goal to get this done. So we literally had to back the Murcielago onto the elevator that they use to get cars onto the second story of their showroom. We backed it onto the elevator, lifted it up, drove it onto a flatbed, and then backed the flatbed up to the alignment rack and drove onto the alignment rack. So I pretty much only had one shot to get this right because we weren't going to do all that again.
My God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's doing what it takes to get the job done.
Correct.
I mean, that's hard to picture in my head.
Yeah.
And were the customers ever aware of the effort that goes into that?
No, they're not. Not at all. I mean, but that's the whole point. The customer shouldn't be. He should just be dropping his car off and dropping his keys off and have a perfect vehicle when it's all over and said and done.
My shop's small enough that customers will happily just stand there to watch me align their car.
How much fun is that?
Well, I'm at a point now where there's only certain customers that bother.
There you go.
And I mean, otherwise they'll either drop it off and say thank you. Uber takes them and they're gone.
Yep.
Or, hey, mind if I hang out and watch? And when someone's typically asking that, they're usually an enthusiast.
Okay.
Like myself. And I'll say, sure. Because I actually like it when a customer sees certain aspects of the job because I think they need to understand what goes into making their cars right. You know, that's why I started my business was I knew I dealt with so many dealerships that shorted me on the job. Didn't care. Set the tow and go. Close enough is close enough. And I'm stuck with having to drive a car that's not 100%. And I was just skilled enough a driver to feel the difference, and it drove me nuts.
Yeah.
And so I was willing to do whatever to be able to take control of that for myself. And in doing so, my cars are a lot more fun to drive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And cars like a Lamborghini, Porsche, Ferrari, Mercedes, especially the performance ones, they're so much more fun to drive as a result. But hell, I can take a lot of cars and make them a lot more fun to drive just by getting the numbers straight. You know, but it's not easy, even with a really expensive alignment rack, like the new ones, like I have, is a $60,000 alignment rack.
Yep.
And just 2 years ago, I bought a brand new set of lasers and computers for it, and that was an additional $35,000. Sure. I sold the old unit for half price to another shop, but I'm willing to do that because I know it just lets me do a better job.
Okay. Yeah. And it's worth it. Yep. The feel from the car is night and day. Yeah.
And so anyway, that's why I'm into it. But the customers who are sensitive enough to know that their alignment wasn't done right, because I've literally had every dealership in Houston. I've had an unhappy customer come from every dealership in Houston at one point saying, I don't think they did a good job of my alignment. And I've been up under there and they didn't even touch the car.
Wow.
Yeah, every dealership is guilty of it.
Wow.
Lamborghini, Ferrari, Porsche, all the Porsches. I mean, literally. And then, of course, that's bad for me to say because I have relationships with all these people, but I've had unhappy customers come from all of them. Mm-hmm. Now, because I have the healthy relationship with the dealerships, I can't go out bad-mouthing dealerships.
Sure.
I can't call up my friend at the dealership and say, hey, you had a unhappy customer come and talk to me. And now I've got to let you know they're unhappy. I may quietly say something at a party, the few that I go to, but I actually have to talk to the customer now and say, look, for my benefit, I need you to not complain. Because as an independent shop owner, I have a political role. There's a political aspect to this job that was not in the brochures.
Correct. Yep.
And now I've got to ask them to go play nice and then just come see me next time for your alignment. But don't go online and complain about it.
You're a good man, sir. You're a good man. That could have gone a lot of different ways. You're a good man, sir.
Well, no, because there's a number of times I'm neck deep in a technical issue.
Yep.
And I've got to call the dealership. Help. Really, Frank, you've been bad-mouthing about our dealerships. Why don't you go F yourself? Because that's what would happen.
That could definitely happen.
And now what do I do?
Yeah.
Sorry, customer, I can't help you.
Yeah.
And now he goes back to the dealership. Oh, you're that guy who went to Frank.
Are you saying it might be a little revolving door, a little circle? Is that what you're trying to say?
It's is it circle of life?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yes.
Or payback is hell, or revenge is served cold, or
even in a large city like Houston, yes. 9
million people, the industry, even in a city of 9 million people, because that's how many people are really here. The exotic end of the automotive world is still a very small place.
Yeah. Yep.
Even in Houston.
Correct.
And I laugh at some of the phone calls I get. Hey, Frank, do you know so-and-so? And I kind of chuckle like, wow, I actually knew that person. Or when a customer of mine goes to trade in a car and the dealership calls me, hey, Frank, I see one of your customers' cars here. I got a question. Yes, customer, I will tell on you. Because I need the dealership to like me so that I can continue to help you with your next car that you buy from them and come to me to hot rod, modify, or track prep. Because when you take it to the track and bang on it for the weekend and everything I did to it works great, but there's a light on there that only the dealership can fix.
Yep.
I've got to be able to refer that to get you taken care of.
Correct.
So that's political aspect that people don't realize what we deal with.
Sure.
And I'm on the outside.
Yep.
Let's talk about what you deal with on the inside. It's probably more so, yes?
I mean, it's pretty much the same. Try to get along with everyone, from obviously clients to even the independent shops, the anyone we sell wholesale parts to, like it's a small little community and we all have to get along, in my opinion. Just like you never know when it's going to turn around and either bite you in the butt or not. So I've definitely referred many clients to outside shops, and I have gotten referrals from outside shops. So they kind of work hand in hand.
How often do you have one just go south on you, or have you?
A client or a relationship like that?
Relationship like that.
So that would have probably been like early on in the days of when we might have done like a PPI inspection or something like that. We catch something that maybe an independent shop didn't catch or something like that. And now you've got an angry client that lost a sale or something like that. But it all revolved around money. So, I mean, we did our job as professional as we could have.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if that sale doesn't go through, then somebody's mad at someone. So,
right.
Yeah.
Now, does Lamborghini of Houston still do pre-purchase inspections?
No, we stopped that years ago. Absolutely.
At what point do they change that policy?
That was pretty early on. I'd probably say 2012, 13, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so do I get, people call me from Porsche North, but I haven't gotten any Lamborghini Houston questions very often recently. PPI requests, I should say.
I'm not so much on the service side anymore, but if anyone ever asks me, I send them your way.
Okay.
So
thank you. Yeah. You see, this is why we
exactly.
So I mean, but your career is very storied. So, I've participated in a number of racing events, marketing events that you've been a part of as well. Let's talk a little bit about the motorsport aspect of your career.
Okay.
Have you ever actually been on a race team?
Never.
Okay. Have you ever rinsed on the race cars that I know have come through?
Our Indigo Auto Group race car, but nothing competitively, to say the least. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know we talked about, you were kind enough to let me come look at the race car that one time. I was considering buying one, and fortunately, you did find a buyer for the car.
Yes.
I've seen it out and about at a few different events over the years. Is there any particular, because a lot of people that go to work in the exotic car aspect of the industry want to go into motorsports.
Correct.
How about you?
In the past, yes, I thought that would be a great idea, getting into motorsports. I think that that's something that you definitely have to do early on in your career to have, just so you have that ability to travel. I think once you start to get a family and those kind of things, that becomes more of a, not a dream, but just more of a, not a great idea, to say the least. Yeah.
I know. I've spent several seasons racing, even when I was younger, dirt bikes, sport bikes, chasing championship points. And it's a hard life. It's real hard. I mean, you're gone all the time. And you're, on top of the service work you're doing, you're expected to do the race car prep work.
Correct.
So that you can roll out early Friday morning.
Correct.
Or Thursday morning in some cases.
Yep.
And you'll put in more hours.
Yep.
In that Thursday to Sunday than you will do in Monday to Thursday.
Correct. Oftentimes at the track, without air conditioning, without a lift, maybe with not all the tools you need.
Less than ideal conditions.
Scrambling for the parts that you need. Yes, all of those things. Yep.
Did the manufacturer truck come to this event this weekend?
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't.
Yep. Now you've got to call 20 different dealers to try to find the parts that you need.
On your cell phone.
Yes. Yep. And get it shipped out there. By the way, you can't find the team owner who has the credit card. So guess where that gets put? Yeah.
Just take care of it. I'll catch you guys on Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's fun. There's a brief moment in time in there somewhere where it's fun, but for the most part, it's a lot of work.
Well, and then it's almost like the restaurant industry where, I'm a part of a restaurant industry podcast, and my sympathy for restaurant owners, because I think it's the single hardest way to make a living, even more so than the auto industry.
Yes.
Because it's a lot of work. Whether the meal is good or bad, it's just as much work.
Correct.
And racing is the same way. The reason we celebrate so hard when we win is that we put in the same 70 hours in the last 3 days. as the people who came in last place.
Correct. Yep.
We're all hustling to the absolute limits of our physical ability.
Yeah.
And to come in last place or to not finish because the driver made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard one.
It's truly a team sport, and I think people say racing's a team sport without actually thinking about how much that encompasses. I mean,
that driver's not turning wrenches on that car.
Correct. Yes.
We need you rested and hydrated.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get the car ready.
Yep. Everyone from who's getting the car ready, how that car got there. Yep.
And the guy who drove the car there is legally not allowed to work on the crew because he drove so hard to get there that he has to stay out of the truck and not work for at least 12 hours.
Correct.
So he can get back in the truck and get back on Monday.
Yep.
And that's just one of how many people that have to be there and do a whole race weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So when they say it's $50,000 a weekend, they're not kidding.
Yep.
That's personnel as much as anything.
Yep.
These days, the fuel bill is $50,000 though. To get there.
Yes. Uh-huh. That is true. That is true.
So, and so having been through what you've been through, and like you said, and not even doing it, you've witnessed it. You understand the effort and time that goes into it. And I guess that's part of your own, I think I'll stay home this weekend.
Yeah, I like watching it a little bit from afar. Yeah, and it was cool. I wanted to do it, but I'm like, I'm okay where I'm at.
Once you went to the races and saw the work.
Yes. Don't get me wrong. I still think it would be a blast, but I wouldn't want to turn that into a career. I could go out and definitely do it for a weekend or something like that, but that's not something you just go and give it a shot for a weekend. You gotta
commit to 10 events a season.
Correct. Yes.
And you have 8 months.
Yep.
And let me tell you what happens in 8 months and 10 events. That's only a couple weeks between events.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything goes wrong, you've only got a few days to make it all happen.
Correct.
So that you can roll back out in 4 more days after that and be there in time.
Correct. And then after that season is up, is there another season? Is there another season with this team? Yeah.
Does this team exist after the season?
Correct. Yeah. So it's a huge risk. Yeah.
And if you talk to anybody who's at it, there's only a few people making money at it.
Correct.
There's probably 5-10 guys at the top of the food chain of race technicians that are making darn good money.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else is making what?
Yeah.
A couple $100 for the whole day for 4 days of your life of go time.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the week, you're $20 an hour, 15.
Just depends on what team you're on. Yep. I'm okay where I'm at.
Benefits.
My heart goes out to them, but I'm okay where I'm at. Yeah.
So I did off and on about 5 seasons over 10 years of racing.
Okay.
And I remember thinking that last season, I remember thinking to myself, it's not even the money, it's the effort. I'm so tired.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I can ever do this again.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so you recognize that right away.
Yes. It just wasn't a path that I wanted to go down.
Right.
Like don't get me wrong, I love motorsports and I love watching it and I love being on track, but it's a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of energy to try to get something like that going and have it to be a successful, meaningful, long-lasting career. And
we've already done one podcast with Alec Goodell as a driver, talking about what it takes for a driver to keep himself going.
Correct.
And we haven't talked yet about what goes on to put a team together so you can take a driver on to go racing.
Correct.
So, and we're still talking about the technician aspect of it. Mm-hmm. So as a technician with a career, at what point did you transition more out of tools in a box to a desk?
So at that point in time, we had a lot of clients who were coming in and bypassing that whole front desk area and just coming right out to the shop to talk to me and even the other technician that was there.
And was here at Lamborghini of Houston?
Yeah, that was at Lamborghini of Houston.
And how many techs were in there with you when you got there?
It was me and one other gentleman. Yes.
2 of you, that was it?
That was it. Well, there wasn't an abundance of cars like there are now. So
really?
Yes.
I mean, how long has Houston been a big town?
Houston's been a big town for quite some time, but Lamborghini hasn't been a big company for that same amount of time.
So you got here in what year?
2010.
2010. At that point, the Gallardo was well established.
Mm-hmm.
Lamborghini sold a bunch of those.
Mm-hmm.
Murcielagos, a few of those running around.
A few of those running around.
Even to this day, I've only seen a handful of Diablos in this town, and I know all the owners of those cars.
Yep.
So mainly it's Gallardos, Huracans, and then, of course, the Aventador in 2012. That was a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
What's the biggest volume of those cars that you see?
Right now is the Urus. We forgot all about that.
I did forget all about that. So
yeah, they're pumping those things out. Yes, sir.
Now, like with the Gallardo, at the end of the run of Gallardos, the largest volume car Lamborghini had ever produced at about 20,000 units total worldwide for the 10-year run. By the halfway through the third year of Huracans, they had matched that same number.
Correct.
Which is just mind-blowing to me.
Yep.
And by the way, as a previous Huracan owner, I can tell you the Huracan is a significantly better car.
Yes, I will agree with you 100% on that. Mm-hmm.
How many Uruses are they turning out on that?
I guess let's put it this way. When we get an allotment of cars for the month, I think we get anywhere from 6 to 10.
Every month?
Yes.
Holy cow.
And those are all pre-sold.
And they're starting at like $300,000.
I think the true starting price is somewhere around $260 or something, but you're never going to get anything down there. But yeah, all pre-sold. They come in, we PDI, and they go right back out.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's been since
since day one.
I mean, that's been 2019.
19, yeah, the end of 2019, or maybe even middle of 2019. Yes.
So for the last 3 years, you've been getting between 7 and 10 a month.
Somewhere around there.
Just been.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That Porsche training is starting to come in handy now, huh?
Hey, yes, absolutely. I'll take it.
For those of you who don't know what that means, the Urus is based on the Atlas platform from Volkswagen, and the powertrain is directly out of a Porsche Cayenne Turbo S.
Correct.
Were you trained on the Cayennes when you did that Porsche training?
Nope.
Did you work on any when you were at that Porsche place?
I want to say yes, but the Porsches that I worked on it was mainly maintenance because I had the Audi Master certification. I did all of the diag for Audi that came in the door, and then they would have me do the maintenance for Porsche until I could get trained to become, because you can't do certain jobs until you have the training level to do that. So it was just mainly maintenance. Yeah. So oil changes, that kind of stuff. Nothing crazy.
Okay. Do you deal with any of the Cayennes on top of the Lamborghinis, the Urus?
No.
I guess the Uruses keep you pretty busy at this point.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have, 3-4 Lamborghini technicians who are all dedicated to just Lambo, and
3 or 4 dedicated.
Yes.
Wow.
And they stay busy. We are busy. That shop is full. Shop is packed.
And right next door is Porsche North Houston with 40 bays.
Yes.
And Tino was on here, did a podcast with me a couple weeks ago. He said they've outgrown it already.
Correct.
Where are you putting all the cars?
Anywhere we can.
For those of you who have never been to Houston or seen what we're talking about, Lamborghini of Houston is regularly the number 1 Lamborghini new car sales dealership in the country.
Yes.
And the 1 or 2 months a year that you are not, who's the other dealership that takes it away from you?
Is it Florida or California? One of the two.
Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills. There it is.
In case you're wondering how much money is in the Woodlands. In Houston, we outsell Beverly Hills with new Lamborghinis on the daily.
This is true.
So dealerships, so we were the largest Lamborghini dealership, one of the largest Porsche dealerships in facilities and capacity, and we've outgrown everything.
Yes, and so much so, I don't know how much I should probably let go. Let's just say there's new facilities coming.
Out of need.
Correct.
Wow.
Yes.
That's exciting.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited.
And I know that, was it Indigo Group Or what was it after the Pawn Group took over that you guys just spent the money you spent renovating that Lamborghini space?
Yes. I think Pawn was maybe in the process of coming in, but I don't know if they were fully vested at that point or another. But yes, yeah, we did.
Because that was not a cheap renovation either.
No,
I remember
absolutely
that.
not. Yeah, when we brought on Rolls Royce, we had to make room for him. So
Yeah. And I'd love to have a conversation about that Rolls Royce issue, because that was quite the drama that played out locally.
Which Rolls Royce issue? I'm sorry. What Rolls Royce? I shouldn't say which. What Rolls Royce issue?
Well, we have Post Oak Motor Cars, which is the Rolls Royce dealership for Houston.
Yes.
And then I understand there was an issue when Post Oak Motor Cars found out that Rolls Royce had issued the dealership status for the North Houston one. Mm. They were not happy.
Of course not.
And a number of conversations between various attorneys were involved.
I'm sure that there was. I'm sure that there was.
I love your ballet dance around that issue.
I'm not privy to a lot of the things that go on, especially like that. But
rumors and innuendos, like we all hear.
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah. And my man is so professional and responsible. He is not about to engage in said rumors and innuendo.
Exactly. 100%. You nailed it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have brought refreshments for the podcast. I apologize.
It's all good. It's all good.
Let me take a look at the clock here. Okay, good. Time really goes fast when you and I get together.
It does. It does.
And I actually have to watch a clock when we talk now, and it's hard for me because people like yourself or Alec and Tino, you're all wonderful people who I really enjoy the company of and the time to talk with.
Thank you. Likewise.
And when it's on a focused topic,
yep.
Forgive me for...
Even better. Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. Yeah. When you said you were going to do a podcast, I'm like, yeah, I'm in. You just tell me when I have the time. Yeah, I'm in. I'm there. Yeah, it'll be a breeze.
Now, in saying that, I know you're involved in a new endeavor, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But in your present situation, in your career in the automotive industry, mm-hmm. you kind of hit peak I don't know, achievement, if you will, relatively early for the time in.
I would say maybe title status, but not experience status and goal status to where I wanted or what I wanted. But yeah, maybe title status, yes.
I mean, one of the highest, like you were a service manager at Lamborghini of Houston
yes.
for some time.
Yes.
And if you're going to be paid as a service manager, that's the place to get paid at the most successful Lamborghini dealership in the country. And you achieved that rank at what age?
I don't remember what age that was. That would have been in 2013, 2014 or something like
10 years ago.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm 37 now. So yeah, 26, 27, somewhere around there.
So you weren't even 30 years old and you reached that level.
Yeah. Okay. When you explain it like that, it sounds glorious.
Well, it kind of is.
The fact of the matter is that, like I said, at that point in time, we had customers coming out in the shop instead of speaking to the service clientele who was there. And the service manager position was a little bit of a revolving door at that time. The director asked what can be done, and I said, just let me give it a shot, right? Because it's either a revolving door and me and the other technician aren't getting along with the service managers there. They're making mistakes. The clients aren't happy. Like, something's got to be done. So they're already skipping that middle ground. Like, let's just let them continue skipping the middle ground, and I'll do my best. And that's what it was. There was nothing. It wasn't like some big grand welcome.
Yeah, look what I'm at.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It was like, business needs to be done. Like, let's just handle business. And so that's what it was. Yeah, that's it.
But in handling business, it's quite the title. And from what I understand, the pay was fairly decent.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're not even 30 years old, and you've reached the height of the industry in your path by the age of 30. At what point did you say, what's next? Or is this all there is?
Well, you set goals and achievements, like this year we grossed this amount and we did this. But next year we're
you did it
more.
I mean, I watched you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you held the position well until transition.
Correct.
So in the transition to the new ownership, at what point were they decided you needed to be doing something else?
So that was a decision that was made together with them, because at the time, my fiance was in the hospital. So we were in the middle of bringing on McLaren as a manufacturer, and then having to outfit the shop for them and bring those technicians in and everything else.
Both of them.
Three of them.
Oh, there were three.
Three of them. And so it was. We came together and we decided that in order for me, because at that time in my life I was at 6 o'clock I had to be out and into the hospital. So to give me the time,
that was a very difficult time in your life.
That was, yes.
And I watched you go through it, and that was hard for me to watch.
Yeah.
I saw the pain in your face every single day.
Every day. Yeah.
And I mean, we'll only cover as much of that as you choose to, because that's even painful for me, because I was there, including the funeral, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody, much less someone I respect as much as you.
Thank you.
And by all accounts that I've witnessed, you've handled it incredibly well. Did that play a role in your new endeavor?
Yes, a huge role in more than one way. So like I said, I was at the dealership from 7:30 a.m. At 6 o'clock, I was leaving there to go to the hospital, and I was at the hospital till 11 o'clock at night, and then back home, wake up 5 a.m., walk the dog, rinse, repeat. And I did that from August until December 26th.
Day after Christmas.
Day after Christmas. And then, as you know, she passed away that day. And I remember that very next day at 6 o'clock, I go home to an empty house now. Or I'm normally doing something for the next 4 or 5 hours. So that's when I did make that decision I'm going to use this time to do something good.
Now that's been how many years now?
So that was the end of 2019. Yeah.
Seems like last week.
All the time it does.
I think I cried more than you did at that funeral. That was hard for me.
Yes.
I watched you. You were a statue, man. It was unbelievable to watch. You were almost good-natured there.
That took a lot. That took a lot. And there was a lot of time before that funeral that I was not that statue.
Understandably so.
Yeah.
She's a good woman.
Yep. Thank you.
Someone I respected a lot too. I when I first met you guys, and I threw down on that joke at the Palm restaurant, and I remember thinking to myself, we're about to find out how much. We're going to find out exactly how good natured this lady is, because I know Eric will get it. And either she'll be on board or she'll never let me talk to Eric again. Because I really went for it.
Yep.
And when she was there and on top of it and with it, I was like, oh, okay, this woman's special.
Yep.
And she continued to impress me all the way to the end.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, wow, Eric did good on this one.
Yep.
So... Well, I'm glad she inspires you.
Yes.
To this day.
Every day.
So let's talk about that transition. Let's talk about this endeavor, this 5 hours a night you suddenly had in your schedule.
Yes.
And your decision was?
So now I produce rum. Also produce rum, not just now. I also produce rum. I have a rum distillery in the Heights. Right now we have a white and a spiced rum in the market. White rum has won an international award, sending the spice rum out to competitions this year to get some awards. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But no, she definitely inspired this for a multitude of reasons. The main reason was I never expected us to not be together. So I anticipated hospital bills coming in, and one job isn't going to do it, so a second job needed to be there. And as you know, we enjoyed traveling. We enjoyed our weekend getaways. What I don't think you knew was that she was on kidney dialysis like every single night. So 8 to 10 hours a night, she was hooked up to a machine doing dialysis. And before we got together, she never thought that she would travel. And I said, nonsense, like we can still do this. So we would pack up all the machinery, all the medicine, everything, and we would go. So I wanted to continue that when she got out of the hospital, and I wasn't going to let some bills stop us from doing that. So that's when I said, I'm going to do this. At that point, I didn't have a time to do this in the day until she passed away. And I said, I'm going to still continue to do this. One of the main things that we do with this company is we also donate back to the Lupus Foundation in her honor. It's just me doing what I can to help others. So, yeah.
Try not to. I'm not crying. You're crying. For those of us watching, you would have to know this woman to appreciate how special she truly was. And I personally witnessed the impact she had on already a good man. And I feel that you were definitely improved by her presence in your life.
Absolutely.
And it was, as a friend of yours, it was an incredible thing to witness and made me happy for you. And the loss of her was felt by more than just yourself.
Definitely.
And, Tammy, she said, I don't think I can go to that funeral. It's okay, honey. I'll go. And I'm there like, can't believe I came to this funeral. It's awful. I'm dying. I gotta go talk to Eric after, not cry. Oh, jeez. It was tough. It was really tough.
It was tough.
But it's the memories we have. It's wonderful time of your life.
Yep.
And now you're doing something really great with it.
Correct.
Why rum? What made you want to say, okay, outside the automotive industry, we're going into spirits? What was the impetus for that?
Well, my dad's from Barbados.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You did not know that?
I didn't know that.
Yes, my dad is from Barbados.
Because he talks like he's from Houston, Texas.
He does. He even listens to the twangiest of countries that I just don't understand where he picked that up from. But yeah, so rum has always been in the family. It's always been in the liquor cabinet, if you will.
Oh, okay.
There is a traditional Barbados liqueur called Falernum. It's a sugary lime, ginger, kind of clove liqueur.
That sounds good.
It's delicious. He may or may not have poured some over my ice cream when I was a kid, growing up. I'm just maybe, I don't know. So definitely always had a little infatuation with rum. But for me, it didn't really, the spark or the change happened from traveling with Andrea. We went to the Cayman Islands and we went to a restaurant and they had these small stills just kind of as decoration. And so I asked the bartender, I was like, what's up with all this? And he said, this is the satellite location for a main distillery. You should come on down tomorrow. I'll give you a tour. I said, sure. Yeah. That's what vacations are for, right? So we went down to the distillery, and it was 6 guys in a warehouse, having a great old time, making a great product and supplying it to the entire island. And I was all like, this, I think they're onto something. I think they're onto something.
They made it look easy.
They made it look easy. And then you come back home and you start researching how illegal it is to even practice. And then all the hurdles that you have to jump through to get into the market, to get the licenses, to get the permits and all of that. Yeah. So
I was there for part of that process.
Mm-hmm.
And you actually had to hire some help at one point.
I still have to hire help. Like you say that like that's done. Like
you make it sound like it's ongoing.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because you can attempt to do a lot of things yourself, but there are no guidelines. There's no how-to guide. There's
no manual.
There's no manual. And I'm not talking about making rum. I'm talking about getting licenses and getting everything in place to make sure that, someone doesn't come knocking on your door because you're doing something that you're not supposed to be. So yeah, the rum making aside is a completely different part of it. But yes.
This is just the admin side.
This is just the admin, like at day one, how do I get into the market legally? Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess they don't put that on the label for the rum.
They don't.
They don't put it in the marketing brochures.
They do not.
By the way, if you want to do this, go down this list.
This is the way to do it. Yeah. No, there's none of that there. So I literally for 2020, the majority of 2020, I spent getting everything in order and filing for all the licenses. and getting the commercial property together to actually start.
I know we talked a little bit about that, and there were some issues.
There were a lot of issues. I don't even know where to begin with
the way you kick back and breathe on that one. Wow.
Yes.
That is a man who has been through it.
One of the biggest hurdles to get into the market is and even in order to apply for the licenses is that you have to have a commercial location and a commercial address. So technically they want you to be paying rent on a commercial establishment before you can apply, before you even know if you're going to be able to be granted the ability to make a product. Right. You could still not be granted this ability, and you're still stuck with this
commercial lease.
Yes.
Which will bankrupt you in a heartbeat if you're not making anything off it.
Correct.
Having been there, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
Commercial leases are no joke.
Yes. Yeah. So that was the main one, but like I said, I just went through all the hurdles. The hard way, it almost sounds like. The hard way. I didn't even say the name of the I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right. You've worked really hard to create a brand.
Clutch Distilling.
Clutch Distilling.
Yes.
Now, why Clutch Distilling rather than Clutch Distillery?
Because Clutch Distilling is more of an action to me. It was that call to action.
It's a verb, not a noun.
In that bad time in my life to make something good, to move forward. So 3
letters make all the difference.
This is true. Yep.
It's a completely different statement with 3 letters.
Correct. Yep.
Wow. So, in talking about this amazing product, would you happen to have any on you?
Of course I do. I would not be that rum guy if I didn't.
You have that? Yeah, I would love to. I don't think it's illegal. Justin, are we allowed? Oh, he's nodding. We are allowed to actually sample Le Rum.
So this is our white rum.
Facing the product. Putting it towards the camera.
Okay. And that is our spiced rum.
24 karat.
Yes. So the white rum is called Chandelier rum. The spiced rum is called a 24 karat rum. And the funny story about the white rum, when I went to purchase, let's just say, some test equipment, you would think that you would go to a website and you would give them your permit ID that you're now legally allowed to buy this equipment.
Yes.
No, that's not the case. What happens is sometimes you're redirected to a PayPal page and they just ask you for your credit card information. And so I did that. The next day I got an email with my tracking information and I noticed, hey, that's not coming to my house. So I called the company and they said, well, we don't use FedEx to ship out anything because they're not gentle with our products. We use a hardware store called Fastenal and we just ship from Fastenal to Fastenal. But don't worry, it's going to be there and you can go and pick it up. And I said, okay, that's kind of strange, but whatsoever. All right.
And I'm familiar with Fastenal. It's a great product, great company.
Mm-hmm. So the day that it arrived at Fastenal, I called down there and I said, hey, is my package there? Is it ready for me to pick up? And the guy said, okay, hold on a second. And then he gets back on the phone and he goes, yeah, I've got a big box here that's labeled chandelier. Did you order a chandelier? And I was like, oh, so that's how they get around shipping products out without
chandelier.
Yeah, they just label it a chandelier. Okay, fine. So that's how I got the name for the white rum.
You may have
that original equipment.
Oh, Clutch is the name of the equipment?
No, the chandelier was the name on the box for the original equipment that was purchased.
The clearest chandelier.
Yes.
You may have been giving away an industry secret where you may have not supposed to.
I don't think I was the first one in this situation. Somehow, something tells me that.
Oh, God, this is great. Justin, can you believe the stories we're getting today?
I know you're not a big drinker. I'm just going to give you a little half shot of that guy.
But
right
I
there.
love from here. From here, I can smell that. It smells delicious.
Thank you.
I'll just run underneath the microphone so you can smell it.
So everyone can smell it.
Oh, that's good.
Thank you. Don't act too surprised that I would have such a good product.
I mean, it's strong but smooth.
Yes.
And what is that flavor?
So my rum is made with blackstrap molasses and raw sugar.
Blackstrap
Molasses. Yes.
What is special? I've never even heard that term before.
So molasses is basically, or the blackstrap molasses is basically a byproduct from the sugar making process. Rum, as long as you make it from any product from the sugar making process, you can consider it to be a rum. So that's what we use.
Okay.
The ingredients that we use are actually human grade ingredients, and that's one of the big things that I strive on. A lot of distillers will use farm grade materials, which is completely fine because once you distill something, you're technically boiling off anything that's going to be bad for you. But I choose to start with something that you would ingest from the get-go, right? Why not? So you can walk into my establishment, sample a big old shot of molasses and be just fine, right? And in fact, I now have recently heard from someone who came in that it prevents gray hairs.
What?
So I may be taking a few shots of molasses myself from here on out. But yes, I know you haven't been down to the facility, but you should come on down. We have a full cocktail menu. I know you don't drink, but you can at least hang out, play some board games,
yes,
that kind of stuff.
And I've been to the Instagram page.
Yes.
And I follow, and I went through it, and it looks like a fun time going down every time after work.
Yeah. For the most part, when we have certain events, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Other than that, it's work, and I mean, I love what I do. I get to produce a product that I can stand behind, and I know that a portion of the proceeds are going to help people. So I enjoy every bit of it.
Now, the spice, I'm smelling and tasting licorice. Is that what I'm supposed to taste?
So it's not licorice. It's star anise.
Star anise.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I use a couple different spices in there. One of them is star anise. And the reason why I use star anise is because that is going to add the sweetness, but without me having to add any kind of sugar or caramel or anything else like a lot of other manufacturers do. So it's
an actual, I hate to use the word ingredient because that's so generalized, but it's an actual, like you said, unlike a caramel or a sugar.
Yep.
Is it a plant or is it a?
Star anise is it's I guess an herb or
it's an herb.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it related to the sassafras root, which is what licorice comes from?
That I do not know.
Because I mean, it's a strong.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the only thing I'm smelling, but it's the primary scent I'm getting out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm smelling cinnamon.
Nope, no cinnamon there, sir.
What is that?
No cinnamon there.
There's a lot going on in it. It's a complex flavor structure.
There's nutmeg, the allspice,
nutmeg. Okay,
some star anise. We do let this soak in medium charred oak chips as well. Again for the color and to mellow it out just a little bit. Yeah.
Justin, are you hearing all this good stuff? He is nodding.
I'm trying, sir. I'm trying.
No, you're not trying. You're doing. Clearly. Wow. Oh, I don't do this on a regular basis.
You don't do that at all. So I'm impressed, sir. I am impressed.
Am I getting red yet, Justin? No, I'm as your friend for all these years now, I'm so happy to see this come to fruition because I'm well aware of the hurdles and the effort and the work that's gone into this without actually being down there because of the conversations we've had and being a part of your life for this long. And I know once you engaged in this project, you stopped doing everything after hours with anything else.
Correct.
So I'm well aware of the time and commitment you've put into this product to get this far.
Yes.
So, and are you happy with your decision?
Absolutely. 100%. Would I have done some things differently? 100%.
Well,
but no, I am completely happy. Yes, 100%.
Ooh, wow. I mean, that is a good rum. That's a strong rum.
Thank you.
It's, I get it. That's strong. That's good stuff.
Yes.
We need to have you on the food podcast.
Okay.
How much time do you think you'd spend talking about?
We can go down some rabbit holes. Absolutely. 100%. Yes.
So we'll introduce you to my partner in crime on the other podcast.
Okay.
And definitely get you having that conversation.
Let's do it.
I didn't realize we were 10 minutes after an hour already. Oh, goodness. Of course, Eric, I could pick apart your life till the cows come home. And I know that you actually have a job still to get back to, and you were kind enough to take that break today to come do this. I can't thank you enough.
Yes.
Other than that, thank you so much for being here. I look forward to having you back again.
Yep.
Especially when you can tell more about some of the spicier things that have happened inside a dealership without being sued or fired or everything else that goes with that.
There's nothing spicy going on. I don't know what you're talking about. Nothing at all.
My man, pleasure as always.
No, pleasure is mine. Thank you. I know it's been a long time since we've gotten together, so I'm glad that we could get together.
Share some rum, tell some stories. And now it's on record.
Yes. Indeed. Yes.
Well, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to see us today at another episode of Talking Gearheads with my friend and guest, Eric Worrell, longtime industry guy, Lamborghini guy from the get-go, and now transitioning into distilled spirits.
Yes.
Clutch distilling.
Clutch distilling, yes.
Even says on the bottle, it's even better.
Yes.
And I look forward to seeing you guys next time, and thank you for coming again.
Yes. Thank you.